Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to this video tutorial in our series on programming Python. In this third video, we're going to take a look at strings. And specifically in this video, these are the following things we're going to be doing. We're going to define what a string is. We're going to take a look at some of the different data types that are out there. We're going to see that the string falls under the sequence type, right? Because really, what a string is, it's just nothing more than a sequence of characters. We're going to look at how we differentiate strings, right? How can I tell if something is a string as opposed to another type of Python built-in data type? How do I differentiate it from an integer, right, or a number? We're also going to go ahead and take a deep dive look at the single quotes, the double quotes. We're going to look at the triple quotes. We're going to look at how to put some line breaks in there. All of this through the lens of the print function. And then that's going to be a nice segue into the follow-on video, the video that's going to go after this one, where we're going to assign strings to variables. We're going to start prompting the user for input. Because up until this point, all of the strings that we've been using, they've all kind of been sort of pre-canned, right, where we already have the string typed out. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the user input some strings, and specifically we're gonna keep this really related to networks. We're gonna be taking a look at IP addresses. We're gonna look at how we can split the octets of an IP address up, and then we're gonna wrap up the second video with basically a little program where we're going to be taking an IP address, we're going to convert that IP address into binary format. So by the time we get done with this video and the next video, you're going to be able to create a Python program that's basically going to be a dotted decimal IPv4 address conversion program that's going to take an IPv4 address in dotted decimal notation, and it's going to print using this print function that we keep mentioning here. It's going to print out, it's actually going to convert it to a binary format and print that out for you, right? So you're going to have a program that's going to take an IPv4 address and it's going to convert it into a binary address, and it's going to print it out for you. So you can see here I'm logged in to my Ubuntu virtual machine, and let's go ahead and fire up idle 3, right? And this is sort of the Python included integrated developer environment here. And again, you can see we get the nice interactive shell. In fact, let me move this over here and let's make this a little larger. And I'm going to say file new because we're going to save off what we create here. And we could easily save that off into a file, which I could then cut and paste and maybe put somewhere else. So here you go. You can see, again, we're in this interactive Python shell. And let me see if there is a way, and there should be. Let me try just the Control plus here. No, Option plus. I was hoping to make this a little larger, and I'm hoping that the window, let's see, configure idle, maybe this will give us some help here. I'm looking to make the text just a little bigger. And we're not getting any help there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and drive on here with the window the size that we have it and the text the size that we have it. So what is a string type? Well, a string, sometimes you're going to hear it referred to as a string. Other times you're going to hear it referred to as a string literal, or you may just hear it called a literal. And what it means is it's basically simply nothing more than a sequence of characters, right? And so a string is a built-in data type in Python. So the question then becomes, well, how do I define a string? Well, a string is going to be something that you see appear in double quotes. So if I was to type in all work and no play make Jack a dull boy and hit enter, you can see that it just echoes it back to me. But that's the string. And the key thing to remember here is the way we differentiate the string is the string is going to be enclosed in either single quotes or double quotes. And we're going to see here in a second we could do, I'm sorry, that was not 71. I was going to say we can do triple quotes as well. So it's going to be enclosed in quotes, right? Single, double, or triple quotes. So we saw what just happened there. What if I were to say with single quotes, all work and, whoops, and no play make Jack a dull boy, and I put the single quotes, you can see it just echoes it out. What if we do the triple quotes? So 1, 2, 3, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy, and triple quotes, right? So single quotes, double quotes, and triple quotes, everything that we find in there is going to be considered to be part of our string. And again, now let's incorporate, and I want to make sure we take an inductive approach here, right? Start small and then build and build and build. So now let's incorporate the print function, right? So the print function, and this, if I back up just a second here, if I do the first quote, you can see here, it says print. We could put a value in here, right, to be printed. I've got a separator. We've got the end equals the carriage return, right? You could do file equals system standard out, and then we'll talk about these things a little bit later. But again, we can put a value in here, and that's really what we're interested in right now, is the value. And what we're going to print out is going to be the string. So let's put the string inside the function print, because print by itself, right? If I just said print and hit enter, what does it print? It just prints a blank line, because we haven't given the function, we haven't input into the print function any value. So by default, if I simply just type print in the double quotes, oops, sorry about that. If I simply type in print and the, not double quotes, the open parens, close parens, it's just going to give me a blank line. So now let's give it a value. So if I say print open parens, and we'll start with double quotes, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And I end it with double quotes. Right? Now you'll notice that it's one of the nice things about the integrated developer environments, or IDLE in particular, and here we are with the interactive Python prompt, is that it highlights it all in gray, sort of telling me, hey, you've just enclosed you've ended the function here, right? So when I hit enter, you can see it prints out all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So let's try that same thing again. Print, and let's use the single quotes. Does it work? And we've got our single quotes. It should highlight gray. It does. And that works great, right? So now let's do some errors. Let's do some forced errors here. So if I were to say print open parent single quote, all work and no play makes, whoops, Jack a dull boy, and then enclose it in double quotes. Now take a look at what happens here. I ended the function, right? I put the close paren at the end of the print function, but did it highlight it gray like it did the previous two times? It didn't. And why do you think it didn't do that? Exactly. Because we started the string, we basically said the string starts here at the first single quote and ran it all the way down to here, and then tried to say it ends with a double quote. But this is one of the things you need to be aware of, is that when you're using the print function, or when you're, I should say, when you're delimiting the string, where does my string begin? Where does my string end? Is that you must match on both the start delimiter and the ending delimiter. So what I mean by that is it's either single quote and single quote, or it's double quote and double quote, or it's triple quote and triple quote, or else it's not going to work. And let's take a look at that. Let's see that it doesn't work here, that we're going to receive an error message. Click back in there. Receive an error message here. It says end of line while scanning. And isn't that, this is great. I love to get the sort of the quote unquote debug output here. End of line while scanning string literal. So there's that term that we talked about at the very beginning. It says end of line, syntax error, end of line while scanning string literal. Well, the error is that we didn't terminate the string literal, right? This literal string of characters with the same delimiter. So we didn't use a single quote on each end. So let's see what happens if we do kind of the last one here, triple quote, right? 1, 2, 3, and then we'll say all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. 1, 2, 3, and it lights up gray, right? Sort of giving us the green light, although a gray light here, that, hey, you've just enclosed everything, you're ready to go. So you may be asking yourself, okay, this is how I define a string, but Travis, what if I were to type in print single quote 8675309? Now, is that a string or is that an integer? So let's hit enter. So you'll notice it prints it out, right? But that's a great question. What if I were to say print, and we'll put it in the single quotes here, 99 plus 33. What is that going to print out? Is it going to print out 132? Or is it just simply going to print out the literal string? And again, I love when they use that string literal there, when they piped out string literal here for us, because remember, what did we say defines a string? How do we define a string? Well, the string are the characters that are between the single quotes, the double quotes, the triple quotes. So it doesn't add these together. It simply prints out literally exactly what we typed in between the single quotes. And the same thing here. So now I'm going to introduce you to another, another function called my pen is not drawing very well today, and actually let's just scrap this whole thing. We'll try it again down here. TYPE. So we're going to be talking about the function type, which is going to confirm for me what data type I'm dealing with. So let's clear the screen here. We'll come back over here. We'll click back in. All right. And so if I were to say type and put in here 99, right? So I'm giving the value 99 to type. But now, did I put 99 within single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes? I didn't. So what class data type is that? It's an int. It's an integer. But what happens if I say type and I say 8675309? Whoops. And that would have been an error right there. So, and then it highlights it gray, right? Telling me, hey, you're good to go here. And I type enter and it says class string. So don't just take my word for it, right? When it's enclosed in the single quotes, and then let's do it one more time. Let's say type, we'll do it a couple more times here. Let's do the double quotes. 8675309, double quotes. We get the go ahead, it highlights it gray. It still says it's a string. What about type, and if it showed up with triple quotes, 8675309? We get the gray, we know we're a go, and it is still a string, right? So again, this is a really easy way to prove what built-in Python data type you're dealing with is simply putting that data type, feeding that value that you're using into the type function. And so real quickly, let me take a look over here. You can see I'm on the documentation page. I'm just looking at 2.7.12 release candidate 1, RC1. And you can easily Google this. You can see we're at docs.python.org, the built-in types. So because there are more built-in types than string and integer, there's a lot of them out there. So the principal built-in types, right, are numerics. And I'm going to scroll down here. We're going to take a look. Sequences, mapping, files, classes, instances, and exceptions. Now, what's interesting here, it says some operations are supported by several object types. But what's interesting here is that things need to be converted to a string, but it says the function or slightly different str function, the latter function, which is this string function, is implicitly used when an object is written, in other words, printed to the screen with the print function, right? So it's implicitly using that string when we're printing strings using the print function. So remember how we said that a string is a sequence type, because what is it? It's literally, probably not the best choice of words there. So all it is a string of literal characters, right? A, B, C, D, 9, 10, 38, right? Making sure that we enclose it in single, double, or triple quotes. So let's scroll down here real quick. And here are the numeric types, right? These are the built-in numeric types. Integer, float, long, or complex. And we'll deal with the numbers at a later time. Let's come down to section 5.6, which is where we want to be down here. And here we go. The sequence types, the built-in sequence types. And there are 7. That's the one that we are interested in right now. Strings, right? So, again, the documentation is a great place to come and to just take a look. And you can see string literals are written in string or double quotes. Remember, we've seen you can even use triple quotes. See string literals for more about string literals. So if I click on that, you can see we get some of the escape sequences and so forth and so on. But again, additional information about strings, right? Talks about concatenation, and sometimes the documentation can be a little terse, a little difficult to understand. But it's always good to know where you can find that information. Okay, so here we are back at the string. So we've defined what a string is. We've took a look at the documentation to see where we can see the built-in data types, right? String falls under the sequence data type. We've looked at the print function. We've seen the double quotes, the single quotes, and the triple quotes. Now let's take a look at basically putting things on different lines, or a line break. So if I wanted to say print, oops, sorry, we'll do double quotes here. The following team will win the NBA title. And I wanted to put we'll put a colon there, and I wanted to say the Warriors, right? Now, but if I wanted the Warriors to appear on a different line, how could I get that to happen? So we're going to see 2 different ways of how I can split basically put a line break in here. So I'm going to say print, and here's the first way to do it. The triple quotes, right? This may not have been intuitive, but the triple quotes allows me to put line breaks in. So if I say print, this team will win the NBA title, and then do do my colon, hit enter, you can see it's still awaiting my input. And I'll put the Warriors. And then I'll put my triple quotes, and take a look at that. As soon as I put my triple quotes in there and close the function with the closed parens, we get it highlighted as gray, and take a look at that. It now says this team will win the NBA title, the Warriors, right? And we've got that line break in between the first sentence and the second sentence. And it's very convenient because all I did was use the triple quotes. Now, will that work with the double quotes? Let's take a look. This team will win, will win the NBA title. And I hit enter. No. So you can't do line separation with double quotes. Let's try single quotes. This team will win the NBA title. Nope, we get an error. So we can't do it with single quotes. We cannot do it with double quotes. We can with triple quotes. Now, there is a way to do it using the \n, right? And what that stands for is new line. That's what the \n is going to stand for, is new line character. So it's going to actually allow us to do to put things on separate lines simply using the \n. So let's go ahead and try that with our print function here. So we're going to say print. I'll use double quotes because, again, we're going to use a special character sequence to represent the line break. And I'll put down this team will win the NBA title. Now, I put the colon there, right? So I'm going to say \n, and then we're going to put in here the Warriors. So, oops, sorry. So you see what we do there is I put that \n and take a look at that. It says the Warriors. What if I were to put two \n's in there? Letter N, \letter N. So we'll say this team will win the NBA title, colon, \n, \n, the Warriors. Double quotes, close my parens, right? The print function has its value, and you can see it inserts a separate line, right? So it did one carriage return and then a second carriage return. So you can use multiple \n's in order to provide additional spacing, right? So we can also do this in single quotes. It would do the same thing with single quotes, no matter how many we put in there, how many \letter n's we put in there. So this team will win the NBA title, and we're going to say \n. Let's put a bunch of them in there, right? So one last one there. So kind of crazy, right? But just to drive the point home, the Warriors. Whoop, now I think we want a single quote in there. Single quote. So there we go. So we're going to have a whole bunch of carriage returns between the first sentence, the first part of the string, and then the second part of the string. Okay, so that's the \n. Again, when you're writing code, typically you're going to see the \n in there, and not, at least myself, I don't use the triple quotes a whole lot, but it's just to show you that the triple quotes they're definitely an option. All right, so that was kind of the last thing we wanted to look at in this video. So we've taken a look at quite a bit here, right? Define the string as one of the built-in data types that falls under the sequence types, right? And we saw that in the web browser here in the documentation. Let me drop back one, right? The sequence types, because that's really all a string is. It's a sequence of numbers and letters enclosed in single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. So the final thing that we're going to take a look at, which sometimes becomes confusing, is what if I end up in a situation like this? Print single quote, it's a wonderful... Now take a look at what happened with the colors there. It's a wonderful life. Single quote. Now, again, you've got to really enjoy and appreciate the idle program here, because let's take a look at what happened as I was typing there. I have my beginning single quote right there, but then I wanted to say it's using the contraction for it is. It's a wonderful life. Well, that requires another single quote. So this is green. You see how these four characters here are green? Because what I just told Python, the interactive Python shell here, is that my string starts here. I then have the literal uppercase I, the literal character lowercase t, followed by the closing of my string with that single quote. So this single quote right here is not going to be interpreted as, oh, we're setting the contraction up here for it is. It says right there, that's it, you're done. And notice the interactive shell, now everything is black, right? And then I throw this other single quote here thinking that that is going to end my string when it's not. It's actually, the boundary for the string is right there. So that is my string, capital I, lowercase t. So let me clear the screen here and let's see what happens if I hit enter. Now you'll notice again, it also didn't highlight it as gray, telling me something's wrong. And again, take a look at that. It even highlights it and shows me where the error is at. Now, what it's saying by highlighting the S in red, it's not saying that, it's not saying that the error is there, because it's not. That's syntax right there. Single quote, capital I, lowercase t, single quote. This is all correct. I'll give it a check mark. That's all good. The error or the problem is here, that we have this letter S followed by all of this stuff that is not enclosed in single or double or triple quotes. So again, if we're using single or double or triple quotes inside of the print function, and we want to print the literal single quote or a literal double quote or the literal triple quote, we need to escape them, right? And that's, we're going to look at the backslash character right now. So if I wanted to say print, and let's do this, we're going to use double quotes here, and I'm going to say, sorry, thinking about what I'm going to type here and trying to speak at the same time. So he said it's, now you see how I do the backslash there, then the single quote, then the S. So we're still green, right? Good news, we're all still green. So he said it, well, I should probably put a capital I. So he said, let me do a comma, and I'll do it like this here. So we're going to enclose what he's saying is that he said it's, sorry about that, a wonderful life, and we want to get that in double quotes, is his favorite movie. And then let's do it again. It's the best. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Now, the backslash characters that I've been using here have been to escape the special meaning of first the double quotes, right? Because again, I'm saying that, you know, he said, so we're going to capture that inside double quotes. So that backslash character escapes this. We're not going to see that backslash character be printed. It's just to escape it. It escapes the single tick here. It escapes the special functionality. So basically that backslash is removing the special functionality of the double quote, the single quote, or the triple quotes inside of the print function. And it's going to allow us to print the literal quote, single quote, the literal double quotes, or if we wanted to, the literal triple quotes, right? So let's go ahead and see what prints out here. And actually, let me get that off there. So we left off and we started it. We're enclosing our entire string inside double quotes. Now, if I do the close parent there, that's a good sign, right? It just gave us the, I should probably start calling it the gray light, gave us the gray light to move forward. And take a look at that. He said, comma, double quotes, it's a wonderful life, double quotes, is his favorite movie. It's the best. And so if you wanted to use the literal single, double, or triple quotes, all you have to do is use the backslash character prior to the single, double, or triple quotes, and it's going to escape the special functionality of that character inside of a string literal. And I think the one thing I didn't do real quickly here is you can certainly mix and match. There are, or what am I trying to say here? A cat has 9 lives. That is 8 more than I do, right? And we'll do a single tick there. So you can mix and match letters and numbers inside of the string. Again, remember, a string is nothing more than just a bunch of characters, right? And if I wanted to say type and find out what kind of a type this is, a cat has 9 lives, single quote, it's a string. And there you go. So we're going to wrap up here, and now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to take a look at assigning strings to variables. we're going to start prompting the user for input, and specifically we're going to be looking at IP addresses. In fact, if I were to say, print single quote 192.168.1.1, or say type 192.168.1.1. Now, when I say type, you may think that it's going to come back and what did we miss there? The opening single tick. So we'll say, actually 172.16.31.31, single tick. So you may think that it's going to say that that is an integer, right? But it's not. Remember, when we enclose it in single, double, or triple quotes, that is how we define the string data type that falls under the type of a sequence type, because it's just nothing more than a list, a string of a bunch of characters on a line, right? And we've seen how we can manipulate those lines and incorporate the special characters in there as well. All right, so this wraps up our intro, or let's say strings part 1 tutorial here. And next, we're going to dive into putting together a script that basically prompts the user for input, takes in an IPv4 address, and then converts that IPv4 address into binary. All right, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.